hours of discussions to say, okay, for every single ScriptRunner product, we believe these two targets are the most important targets right now. So maybe when you're talking to the teams themselves, to the tech lead, to the product manager, to the tech writer, to the user experience designer, when PMM, all of them, when you tell them these are the targets, we show them all the targets, but we ask them to focus on those two. And if they disagree with those two targets being the primary ones, we'd like to hear from them why they think that is, because we might have missed something. They are the experts of their own products. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that bit as well, Gustav.
Yeah. Yeah, and as Andre alluded to, after that process was done, we handed it over to the PM and PMMs for each of the products, where they were then able to, well, agree or disagree, but then also really dive into the specifics around the targets that we had for the year, and understand it so closely that they were able to map out a plan against it. So it really helped us focus across the team, and also understand why we're doing what we're doing across departments. So I'll share my screen and just show you an example.
And while you're getting the screen, let me just point out something as well. It was a very interesting learning curve for all of us. No, you can share. It was a very interesting learning curve for all of us. Again, Height and Chloe, myself, before we handed over the targets to the team, because we were analyzing these targets, and once we decide which targets should be for every single product, we started going to the rabbit hole of, okay, is it fair with our teams just to tell them these are the two targets, go and like work yourself up and find a solution for it? Or should we actually try to somehow make some decisions along the way and give them like some more hand holding around those targets? We decided by starting analyzing those targets and trying to actually help the team further. But it didn't take us long to realize that actually what we were doing was kind of wrong, because we're basically doing their job. So I was thinking, we all got to the conclusion, man, imagine we finish all this analysis and then suddenly we get to them and tell them, hey, these are the targets we're working on, and these are the problems we're seeing with these targets. Go and find a solution. A, it wouldn't be a good way of working. B, who am I to say like something like that? Like, who am I to say that these are the problems I'm seeing with their product? Like, they are the experts of their products. So immediately, it didn't take us long to understand, okay, now that's the line we have to draw, and we go up to these points. Apart from that, we need their help. They're the experts. They have the right tools, the right knowledge. We need them to help us with that.
Yes. And this is an example that Jesse and Jill put together. We won't go into detail about what the plan says, but it gives you an overview of some of the work that took place for ScriptRunner, for Confluence, DC and Cloud. So the way they broke it down was by each of the key targets for the year, like the current situation, but also what are the different stages that we want to look at for the year in order to move closer to those targets. These are available on should you want to go and take a look. They're really good. And basically it was put into different brackets around, well, what type of work is it? What project is it, in fact? What KPI is it tied to? And what is the goal and or reason for doing this? Again, it just helps us really focus on the work that we're doing against the targets, but also understanding why we're doing this work across departments. And same again for cloud.
Yeah, they were very interesting because, well, the first thing that we were
analysis.
very happy to see, yeah, I think these were like the raw analysis they have done to come up with that. The first thing that we liked is the approach, the phased approach, the staged approach as to, okay, this is, as Gustav said, this is the current stage of that specific KPI and how we are at performing at that against that KPI. And here is basically where we want to get. But not only here is where we want to get, we're going to get there by following these stages. So we have these stages of progress, and every single stage of the progress would give us a little bit, will get us a little bit closer to the overall overarching goal. And in every single stage in this process has value in itself, but we are getting here. This is the objective. I think, well, I was extremely happy to see that, and to see the alignment as well on all the initiatives that are coming up for every single products and how they're tidying back to the KPIs. And I hope that this helped the team to prioritize their job more, product managers, PMMs, in a sense of, is this work that is being presented to me right now aligned with the targets I am working right now? And if it's not, should I be working on that? Should I be spending more time in that? Maybe, of course, we're not asking anyone to ignore completely, entirely every single other KPI apart from those two, but it definitely gives them a sense of prioritization and what's important and what's not.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it's not just tied back to each target, it also ties back to our overarching ScriptRunner strategy, product strategy as well. But it gives you an extra thing to focus on. Shall I share what we did next?
Go
on. So the next step, and this is something that we can definitely get better at still, is how do we then take these strategies, if you will, plans for each product and move it into Team Central, because this is where we want to maybe basically give bite-sized updates around key projects that we're doing, but also just how do we want to structure this in a way that makes sense for everyone to find out more information about what's going on for specific products or the different goals. So for example, here we've got ScriptRunner for Bitbucket. It's just giving us a bit of an overview of what it is. Again, we can make that a little bit prettier, I'm sure. All the contributing goals, different linked projects, as well as the related links to this. So in this case, this is the same work that was done for ScriptRunner for Confluence, but for ScriptRunner for Bitbucket. So again, to give an example of a goal, in this case, the conversion rate from eval to paid, we're just showing you what that is up front. And that's pretty much it. And then linked contributing projects that's being worked on around this as well. So if I were to go in here, yeah, we give you an overview of what this project is about and the latest updates whenever there is anything to share. Now, usually what we would do as well, once a new project is being kicked off, is what are the exact KPIs from a marketing point of view that we'd want to see, or I'm sure the same goes for products, because you can't just look at eval to paid conversion rate overall, because so much bakes into one thing. So what are other KPIs that also lead to that bigger goal? And that would be tied to each of these projects as well. In terms of what's next on our side, it's continuing and doing this better, but also I think now that we're using quite a few tools, it's just clarifying really succinctly where certain information should exist, so that there's not duplication and confusion, because then, you know, it won't work. And that's something that we're working on right now as well. just make it better.
I like to add a point as that on that as well. Like when I'm looking at Team Central and the way that they organize Team Central, and by the way, hats off to I think Gio and Jesse are the ones that actually have done this organization. Rob as well. I know that Rob Giddens has done a very good organized very well ScriptRunner for Bitbucket on Team Central as well. It started giving me, as a lead product manager, visibility around all the initiatives that are working or they're planning to work against a specific goal. B, which was very interesting and maybe even unintentional, I now can have visibility because I have easy access and visibility to all these different initiatives that are associated with one KPI or more. I can start seeing what every single product is doing against a specific KPI, and I can start connecting the dots and just pulling people together more often. So for example, one of the outcomes that we had out of those target meetings we had last year was to see and recognize that ScriptRunner for Bitbucket and ScriptRunner for Confluence in some areas were pursuing exactly the same thing. So I not just join forces them too and try to do that together, maybe in a better way, in a faster way. Maybe if getting together actually makes things worse and more complicated, fair enough. But at least we now have visibility and I can just pull them together and say, we used to do the manually, like I used to, and we still do, we have bi-weekly meetings with all ScriptRunner product managers. And that meetings, usually we're talking about the initiatives we are working and the initiatives we want to work. And then manually, by talking to each other, we'll be actually connecting the dots. But now with the tool, we can do that on an easier way, and definitely with more products that are beyond ScriptRunner products. You can see the other products. For example, if Dylan is doing something on a specific API, I can easily see if those initiatives somehow relate to my initiatives, and I can get Dylan's help. If Dylan is using Team Central. Don't know, Dylan, if you're there, if you're using Team Central. But anyway, that was really good. Now I can see you. That was a really good outcome out of that conversation.
I agree. I think that transparency angle is actually really good, a good point that you made there. And it's even just if you want to learn why someone else is working on something, you know, a lot of the time you don't know that. It's a really easy way to go in and just check, okay, that makes sense to me now in terms of we're working on something over here and towards the same goal. How does product do that as well? Or do they do that? Yeah.
I think there's another point I'd like to mention on the target ways of working that I just remembered that was important. It was regarding the owners and the responsibles for that. Remember, Gustav, that you, Haidt, and myself. So we were at the beginning, when we were looking at the targets, we're immediately saying, okay, the owners for those targets should be the product marketing manager, the product manager, the tech lead, and the tech writer. And gunners, if you had, I don't know, embedded UX per product, probably UX would be there owning that as well.
Soon.
It's coming. But then we, after some discussions and working that, and maybe I'm kind of in a good position to be, because I am ScriptRunner, for those that don't know, I'm ScriptRunner lead product manager. So all the ScriptRunner product managers report to me, and I make sure, well, my responsibility is to make sure we're aligned, we're respecting the brand, we're going towards the same direction, and I connect the dots. But the other role I have is I am ScriptRunner for Jira data center product manager. So I am kind of my own manager from that perspective. So when we were going through this exercise of what should we do, I was going through this exercise as a team lead, as a lead product manager. After I reached that line and said, okay, this is where we want product managers to take over, I was basically saying, okay, now I need to work as a ScriptRunner for Jira data center product manager and take these targets and analyze them. So going back to my point of owners and responsibility, we were initially saying those 4 roles should be owning that. But then when I was doing the analysis myself for the ScriptRunner for Jira data center, with Jazz. And Jazz, remember like the countless meetings we had around those targets. And we're including at the beginning, actually for the first meeting, I included our tech lead, Jamie Eckling. We included our tech writer, Chloe. And then we immediately realized that at the end of that meeting, that even though all of them should be part of the decisions being made, the owners should be more the PMs and PMMs, because the majority of the work, at least the initial work of analysis, were more related to the PM and PMM area. And these even came from Jamie. I don't know if, I think Jamie's here. I don't know if Jamie remembers, but Jamie, one of the comments he made is like, I don't see how much I can help you guys now with the beginning of this analysis, because it uses a lot of marketing analysis and a lot of product analysis. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So maybe we should say the owners are PMs and PMMs, and responsibles are all the four, the tech leads and tech writers included. So that was a learning as well. No worries, Jenny. That was a learning we got at the very beginning of the process. And again, it's the first time we're doing this. It's the first time we're having this process. We're still learning. But I feel that the feedback we got from the other products, from the other teams, were more or less kind of good in that sense. Like, yeah, the PM and PMMs owning that was actually a good call. But I'm pretty sure they have relied on their tech lead and tech writer for that.
Yeah. I think that's it. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add, Andre?
Oh no, I talked too much. It's already 3:30 on a Friday.
You need to go to the pub as soon as possible.
Isn't it time for that pint, Andre? However, before you two are off the hook, is there anybody would like to come off and ask these two to clarify anything? Is there anything that you could use some more in-depth information on around the work they've been doing and the sharing on Team Central?
No, hey, this is Mike. I just wanted to mention, as you were talking, Andre, I was slacking Lisa Schaefer. She's running our new AIS group, and that's where the scripting as a service team lives now. So she'll reach out to you because she's building a program around this. So
awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Andre, Gustav, a question. You mentioned there are two objectives that you prioritize for each team. Are they the same for all teams, or the two would be different in different teams? Good
question. Do you want to go, Gustav?
I believe they are the same.
No, they're different. They're different.
Are they?
Okay, they're different. Okay, so what we did was,
yes, you're right.
Forgive Gustav. Like, this was a long time ago, and it's Friday. Like, we worked a lot. So the Gustav, myself, Height, and Chloe, we analyzed every single product for all those 6 different KPIs. And you were basically looking for every product, which KPI had the biggest business opportunity, in a sense, for that specific product, or which target had the biggest business opportunity for that product. And then we picked that one. So we went through product by product. One of the ways we did that, and this is just one of the data inputs or ways we did it. Like when you're looking at, by the way, that's something important to say as well, Naka. Those targets that we received from the senior stakeholders, we immediately saw them as kind of as a benchmark analysis and study they have done as to this is how healthy KPI should look like, analyzing these other products and this other data and whatnot. So when we analyze those KPIs, one of the ways we prioritize was which ones have the biggest gap between what they currently are and where they want to be.
Yeah.
And is this KPI, specific KPI, aligned with that vision and strategy for that product? Meaning, some products are more mature and bigger, and therefore they're more focusing on renewals than like new customers coming. So we took that into consideration as well, the maturity of the product. But there were different targets for every single product.
Cool. Yeah, that all makes sense to me. Where can I find these targets, by the way? Because I have managed a lot of these teams. I don't know where to find them.
Definitely can share with you, Naka. I
Yeah.
will.
Thanks,
get
Andre.
that sheet.
I have many a question, but I'll try to stick to one or two. So the one that's most interesting to me. So Gustav, you talked about, so in the Team Central, you have set up the overall goal, which is either along the lines of conversion rate, renewal rate, or revenue.
Yep.
And attributed number of projects that you think by doing all these projects, essentially, you should
Moving
be
closer.
Yeah, you should be moving to that goal. As part of that, you mentioned there were some secondary KPIs on a project level that it evidently can't be conversion rate or revenue,
Yep.
right? So what were some of those secondary KPIs?
Yeah, so it really depends on the project. So if you think about renewing, onboarding emails, for example, we have to think about, well, what does that look like from a successful KPI point of view within the channel that we're working in. So for that, it's probably looking at more, are we getting more open rates than we've done before? Are we driving more people to relevant places? If we are, and we're doing a good job once they've landed where they, where we want them to land, we think that will lead to an uplift in conversions, for example. So that's kind of the sort of work we have to do. So it's almost like reverse engineering what's the main goal and figuring out, okay, so what are the steps before that needs to happen? The signals, yeah, exactly. So that's and that's something we're trying to do once we're kicking off a new project. So once we've finished one and another one starts, that's kind of a good natural place to start, because then you're thinking about it from, well, start to finish, rather than trying to do everything in one big swoop.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, that's hopefully that answers the
I think
question.
that's a good segue for me to add on top of what Gustav just said as well. When you're looking at one issue, and Gunners, this is not for you because you know that inside out. Like we talk about that almost on a daily basis. But when you are looking at a specific initiative, and we know that we are working on that initiative to solve a specific user need, and it's very specific, and the more specific, the better, you might say. At least in my own taste as a prioritization perspective, I love it when you know exactly what you're trying to solve, and you know exactly the KPI you're trying to, or the KPI that will give you the signal that you're going towards the right direction or not. We try to be cognizant, as always, as to, even if that initiative might not be successful for that specific KPI and user need, that initiative might deliver value in other areas and might impact other KPIs. And why is that important? Well, the reason, if I deliver an MVP, a minimum viable product, that is trying to solve a problem A, at the end of the MVP, if it's not solving problem A in the way I expected, you might just kill that initiative. You might just remove them from the product, or you might just iterate on it and improve it more and more. But let's say you kill it. It's like, I'm not gonna be bothered with that anymore. That was wrong. I'm just killing it, removing from the product. If you were aware that even though it didn't solve problem A quite well, but actually it did deliver a lot of value on another area they were not expecting, would you really kill that initiative? Would you really not progress maybe that initiative? You might say, well, but that KPI remains not being my higher priority, and I agree with you. I might say, I might not invest more in that initiative, but I will not think about killing that initiative anymore. I say, okay, I might not invest right now because it's not my KPI, that is my main problem, but I know I will not kill it. So yeah, that's the more or less the mindset behind.
Makes sense. I have one more quick question. So we talked about the analysis right at the beginning, where you presumably pull some data together and look at marketplace stats, historical stuff, all that kind of thing. And then you mentioned, okay, well, actually, once we did that analysis on a higher level, it made sense to hand it off to individual teams more. Did you see that on the team level, they followed that same framework or methodology of running the analysis, or did it differ on a team by team basis?
Personally, I think they followed a fairly similar structure, mainly because I think they shared information between each other as well. I also think that some of the research was done before and almost acted as a template, which was also helpful in that regard. That was my view on it. Andre, would you agree? Or
Interesting.
It's an interesting question. I think I agree with Gustav. I think they were more or less, and maybe this is because, I don't know, we are so embedded in our ways of working, maybe are very similar because we work all as ScriptRunner product managers and kind of have been talking about product for a long time. Maybe that could be a contributor on why they kind of more or less went to the same direction. I'll be curious to see, for example, what Lean would do with that target, what Dylan would do, and the other product managers. So yeah, but in ScriptRunner perspective, they were very similar.
Andre, I have a quick question here. So you talked about KPIs and goals and objectives and initiatives, and various aspects of achieving those goals and the interaction of all those initiatives and projects. I wonder how risk would play into this. And this, I'm asking this question in the context of ISO 27001 that I'm in the middle of. No, I'm actually in the final phase.
Of course you are, Sig. Of course you're asking from that perspective. Actually, one thing, your name was mentioned while we were using Team Central, because I even said, I'm pretty sure Sig will be very happy to see that every single objective and target are now documented in the same place. So at least one place instead of all the different platforms you're using. Okay, risk analysis. I think the risk comes from the risk analysis as usual, and as you know, it comes from different aspects. And Gustav, I'd like to hear your thoughts as well afterwards from a marketing perspective. But from a product perspective, one of the risks we see, like the first risk is this going to be valuable to the user in the first place? And I think that's just a risk that is embedded in every single thing we do as a product manager. Then you have the risk of, well, is Atlassian going to build this out of the box and therefore solve the user need and not needing this app anymore? So these are kind of risks regarding the value perspective. I'm pretty sure that every single competency, for example, the tech leads, would analyze the risk from a technology perspective. Is this changing our existing code base in a way that might break specific core areas of the product and put the service down or whatever, something like that? Or no, it's completely independent, separate from the product. Even if it breaks, it's going to break just that bit. So I'm asking this question because there is a clause number 6.1.5 in the standard that says about information security in project management. And it says information security should be addressed in project management, regardless of the type of the project. So once we go for the certification, which will start in May this year, they will look for any traces of relevant risk addressed and then see how it was handled. So if there is no mention of risk in any project, they'll go say, well. Yeah. And that's definitely something we need to get better, see, because even though we might think about these things, I don't think we think as much as we should. And we definitely don't document in a standard for the.
So we met last year about this topic. I think we should take this topic on in a different meeting and try to get this a little, at least some way formalized, so I can fake my existence here at the certification meeting.
Oh no, you guys go ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my question. I'm really glad to see these projects are the same place. You had the right feeling that you mentioned earlier. So thank you.
Thank you, Sig. Yeah, Gustav, would like to add something on top of that?
No, well, I started thinking about it a little bit differently, more about the risk of losing track or focus rather, and thinking about it from an opportunity cost perspective, but also saving ourselves from, if we get ad hoc requests from a marketing point of view in terms of, can we do this, can we do that? it's really good having the lens now to go, well, how does that tie to what we're trying to achieve? Well, on a greater scale. And I think that is very valuable. And talking about risk, but more of a, yeah, going off course, I suppose.
Well, you've done a fantastic job of steering the ship for the show and tell, Gustav. So don't be too stressed. I'd like to add that I think it's really great to see product marketing and education aligned on these projects with Chloe involved as your technical writer as part of the education team. That's really nice to see. And to see that everybody is like aligned and getting the stuff done and reaching those goals. Really cool. Great work. Great work, everybody. Does anyone have any further questions that they'd like to put by Gustav or Andre or Siggy or Gooners? I'm volunteering all of you now. Does anybody want to ask anybody any questions? Wonderful.
Yeah, what's for dinner?
One last question, Andre and Gustav. I saw the objective being set in the spreadsheet that Andre just shared. And these are being set exogenous to the team, isn't it? So it doesn't take into consideration things like how many people we have in the team. And if we set a target, that means we may need to hire more people in order to deliver that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. That's a really good point.
And that's a very good point, because there were some conversations, and our stakeholders were even saying, that's where the ideal scenario is for you folks. If you need more resources or more staff or more whatever you need more to get to that level, now you know where exactly we want you to be. So you can just tell us where we want to get and what you need and how you're going to get there with what you're asking from us.
And we're going to have a similar spreadsheet for the next financial year when October or September comes.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. One of the feedback I gave Adam and Yari, at least like personally speaking, from a ScriptRunner, from a lead product manager, it was like I really liked that approach. It was the first time I was having this conversation with them. I think we had that conversation. Of course, we had a conversation informally in the past, but it wasn't as mature as we're having right now. And that was really good, because basically giving us more direction. So I hope that this will be next year, we'll be there again.
Awesome. This is great work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Naka.
Okay, any more for Andre and Gustav before we move on to an announcement? It's one announcement, and then we're done for the show and tell. Going once, going twice. Andre, Gustav, fantastic presentation over ScriptRunner goals and alignments and goal setting and goal achieving. Good luck. We're all counting on you.
Thank you. No pressure. No pressure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Zero pressure. No, fantastic. Great job. And finally, the last announcement for today's show and tell is that today is the last day to take the ENPS survey before we do it again in a few months. That's going to happen. So today is the last day to take the survey. If you have not taken the survey, please, please, please take a moment to fill out what I'm about to drop into the link in Zoom here. All right. Matthew. I'm watching you, buddy. If you have not taken the survey, if you're new, don't worry. We still want to hear your voice. All right. So please jump into this link. It is completely anonymous. We just need to know how we can make Adaptibus a better place to work, and we can't do that without your response. So if you have not taken the survey, please jump into the link I just shared in Zoom and take it. The survey ends tonight.
Is this the right?
It's a Comedy Central link, right?
Is this the right link?
That is not the right link. That's the link to
I mean, it's funny. But...
Exactly. Okay, I can watch the video, but I don't know how this will help you.
I recommend it highly. It's a fantastic segment. I saw the CC in the link, and I thought it was the the Qualtrics link. That is fantastic, everybody. You know, it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Go on.
No, it couldn't have been much worse. Actually, that's a good Key and Peele sketch, though. The aggressive telemarketer, fantastic sketch. And you never expect the ending, as that is with most Key and Peele sketches. So in the Zoom chat, you now actually have the proper link to Qualtrics. It is an anonymous survey. You can watch the Key and Peele sketch anonymously as well. If you're looking for more hijinks from Key and Peele, I recommend the East versus West series. That the sports announcer series, I have laughed myself off of my chair watching that because it just gets better and better. You know, it's fine. Yeah, so please take the survey, even if you're brand new. We're happy to hear from you. We really need your voice. And show and tells are going to be coming at you fast and furious for the next few weeks. And every Friday, on the final Friday of the month, it will be an all hands with Simon Hayden Williams. So keep an eye out, keep coming to the show and tells. Have a wonderful weekend, Adaptivist. Enjoy your break if you're taking one. Enjoy the Key and Peele sketch. Take the EMPS survey. Behave yourself.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Stay hydrated.